Hello everyone, my name is Elle, and I discuss makeup of the past and future. Let's talk about Becca's origin story. Becca was co-founded by Steven Shapira and Rebecca Morris Williams. If you ever wondered why the brand was called Becca, there's your answer. Rebecca has kept her personal life private. She was born and raised in Western Australia. She attended Penrose College in Perth. After graduating, Rebecca worked as a makeup artist. By 1993, she was experimenting in her kitchen to try and create products that would work for her. And she was also attempting to work with a local chemist on her own formulations. Steven started as a mechanical engineer but quit after only 6 weeks. He moved on to winemaking and became an entrepreneur with a profitable wine business. In 1995, Steven sold his winery, known as Chittering Estate. On a trip to Bali at the end of the year, Steven expressed to his friend Rebecca that he didn't know what was next. Rebecca knew what was next for her, though. Her New Year's resolution was to work on her own namesake brand. Quote, "So we decided we'd do it together and we shook hands. It's really as simple as that." End quote. And in 1996, they began the experimentation. Not finding what they were looking for in Australia, they branched out to cosmetic labs in other countries. The experimentations in Australia just weren't working out the way Rebecca envisioned. And more than anything, Rebecca was a perfectionist. Eventually, they found a lab in Germany. Quote, "Germany had the technology we were looking for. They also understood our quality requirements better than others." End quote. The initial vision for Becca was skin-focused and inspired by the quest for the perfect foundation. Rebecca had also been frustrated with the lack of base makeup options for various skin tones. She was determined to create more than just a handful of shades. She wanted the brand to cater to as many skin types and tones as possible. And so they would begin developing 34 shades, something unique to many brands in the 90s and early 2000s. During this time, Rebecca began testing the products on women during her work as a makeup artist. Quote, "The overwhelmingly positive feedback was something that consistently boosted my belief in what I was doing." End quote. To help develop deeper shades, Rebecca recruited a former model and makeup artist she had worked with, Elizabeth Reeves. Elizabeth became chief makeup artist at Becca, as well as an essential part of their development team. Quote, "One of the many great things about Becca and our relationship is that Rebecca Morris Williams gave me complete free range to work on developing colors that I felt would serve women of color well. We were able to create colors that didn't exist in other lines, colors that were simply better suited to many complexions. Some of the foundation colors took quite a long time to develop and to perfect. Just as an example, it took over 6 months to develop a foundation which was my perfect color." End quote. All in all, the estimated cost spent on research and development was $350,000. Becca was first registered as a trademark in Australia in 1998. To go alongside Becca, Rebecca and Steven created an unlisted public company called Cosmetic Developments Limited in 2000. The packaging was to be produced in Italy. Andrea Bucks, founder of Wellco and friend of Rebecca's, helped with securing investors and funding for the brand. And in October 2001, having raised enough capital, Becca launched in Space NK in London. Their American debut was supposed to have been a month earlier, in New York, but was delayed until January 2002 due to the events of 9/11. When they did launch, it was at Bergdorf Goodman's, and they had a 6-month exclusive with the brand. Quote, "We are a beauty brand, but with a particular strength in the complexion category. Our mission always has been to have the right shade for everyone." End quote. And in their first full financial year, from 2002 to 2003, Becca had revenue of approximately $3 million, according to a 2003 Financial Review article. In 2005, speaking to Australian Beauty Markt, Rebecca said, quote, "Folks have said that it's not commercially viable to have such an extensive range of foundation colors sitting on the shelves, and I just think that's crazy. There are just so many women out there with darker skin. It is just that companies haven't done it, particularly, and women of color don't know where to go and get it. So these women are not in the shops being seen, but someone has to do it. If they did carry cosmetics that were for them, women of color would most certainly start coming into the shops and start buying." End quote. Rebecca continued, reinforcing that they were holding their distributors accountable. Quote, "They must carry the full range. It's a condition. Otherwise, if they don't or are unwilling to, they can just go away. It has been very difficult. We say that unless you take all the colors, we don't want to go with you. We won't be in that retailer, and that goes across the world everywhere. Even if we know that there is hardly a huge market of women of color in a particular area, they must have these colors available just in case. That is our philosophy." End quote. They became known as a complexion brand. The popular products were their foundation and concealer, not because they had the most shades, but because they had a variety of shades and undertones that worked. The range consisted of hundreds of items, products like cream blush, loose powder, tinted moisturizer, liquid highlighter, lip tints, on and on. "The whole point of this line is a no makeup look," Rebecca said. "Yes, it was designed by a makeup artist, but it is aimed at real life situations, not studio conditions." Becca also chose not to advertise. Quote, "We don't advertise, so Becca becomes known through word of mouth and celebrity usage, and through professional makeup artists who are using Becca. That's how the word gets out that Becca is a great product or that we're an authority on foundation. It's not about billboard advertising." End quote. The brand did incredibly well attracting makeup artists like Val Garland, Mary Greenwell, Charlotte Tilbury, and celebrity clientele from Cate Blanchett to Kate Moss, Gwyneth Paltrow, Naomi Campbell, Beyoncé, Diana Ross, and Venus and Serena Williams, to name just a few. And with a luxury price point, but with the idea that luxury means getting more for your dollars. Quote, "Luxury is not just about the product, it's the aspiration established before purchase, the pre-sales experience, the sales experience, the enjoyment of the product, and the after-sales experience." End quote. Becca was not available in many stores because of their strict requirements for stores to carry all shades. Though they were visible and successful in Australia and in the UK, their US presence was less. Being largely based out of Australia also meant that the brand was a little out of touch with what was happening with one of the largest sections of the beauty industry, America. They did get into Sephora a couple of years after launch, but by 2008, their relationship with Sephora turned and they exited. They also were pushed out of many luxury retailers. They weren't producing like other luxury brands, and stores didn't know how to promote them. By 2010, they found themselves in Duane Reade pharmacies. These drugstore chains have been purchased by Walgreens. Now, being in a drugstore doesn't mean drugstore prices. Many people assume that it means lower prices and thus lower quality. Becca didn't change. Duane Reade stores had introduced Look boutiques, which sold a mix of higher-end beauty products. In Canada, we have a similar concept in our Shoppers Drug Stores for comparison called beauty boutiques, with brands from Benefit and Urban Decay to Lancôme and Chanel. But during this time, in Look boutiques, Becca's lineup of products had ballooned to contain 360 stock-keeping units. And as Becca floated on, they were considered dead in the water for many, as Robert DeBaker would later admit to WWD. Robert DeBaker had become president and CEO in 2011, just before the sale to Luxury Brand Partners in 2012. Luxury Brand Partners is a company that invests in and supports beauty brands. Currently in their portfolio, they have Smith & Colt, IGK, and Patrick Starr's One Size, for examples. It is unclear how much Rebecca and Steven still owned at this time. Reportedly, both officially left Becca in 2016, but previously they had only owned about 30% of the brand between them. But Luxury Brand Partners did become the majority owner. In 2011, Becca brought in less than $5 million in revenue. Robert helped get Becca back into Sephora in 2012. Robert also recruited Carrie Cole, who he had previously worked with at Korres, to help reorganize the brand. She would eventually assume the role of Global Style Director and Director of Brand Development. Quote, "When I started there were like 250 SKUs in the line, and my boss said to me, 'You need to start cutting things. We need to figure out what's really productive.' It was hard because it was blood, sweat, and tears that went into these products, and there's this new chick that comes on that's like, 'Cut this, we can't do this, get rid of this is horrible,'" end quote. And so the line was cut down to a more manageable 160 SKUs, 100 of which were base products. And in 2012, their annual sales were estimated to be $15 million. But they were still struggling. Becca may have been around for more than a decade at this point, but they hadn't found their fan base. While their products were good, they were also expensive and available in limited locations. Due to how the products were manufactured, there were often shortages of shades as well, and restocking became a challenge. Despite focusing on base makeup, primers, foundations, concealers, powders, when you think about Becca products, you probably first think about their pressed highlighters. Those were only launched in 2013. The Shimmering Skin Perfector Liquid was one of the products in Becca's line from the beginning, and had become a staple for many. Check out some early Lisa Eldridge videos and you can hear her rave about the Liquid Luminizer, for example. In fact, most of the well-known Becca products were launched around the same time. The Ever Matte Primer became a cult favorite and was launched around the same time as the new highlighters, for example. The Under Eye Brightening Corrector didn't launch until early 2015. In 2013, they debuted at QVC, desperate for something to work. And in 2014, they had less than 20,000 followers on Instagram. Not that Instagram followers are anything to live or die by, but it's certainly a good indicator of reach. But then, also in 2014, one of the most popular beauty YouTubers used one of their pressed highlighters in a video. Jaclyn Hill's use and praise of Opal in a prom makeup look caused a noticeable spike in sales. Robert said, quote, "It was that moment when we said, like other brands were starting to at this time, gee, we really should send some products out to these people who are doing videos because they're going to talk about our product," end quote. Robert had a lunch meeting with Jaclyn. One part thank you for tripling sales of Opal and one part potential collaboration pitch. What highlighter shade did Jaclyn think was missing from the lineup? In 2015, the Champagne Pop highlighter changed everything. If you'd like to hear more about the effect Jaclyn Hill had on Becca, make sure to check out part 2. Thank you for watching the origin story of Becca. Let me know if you'd like to see more origin stories and what brands you'd like to see covered. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.